Hey, what's good with it, y'all? It's Logan, and I'm here with my boy Elijah. Tell him what's up.
What's up, y'all? How y'all doing?
Yeah, man. So, gonna have a short one here for y'all. We're just gonna go through the albums that dropped this week. We got 4 that we listened to and are gonna be reviewing. Talk about them, chop it up, and then we're gonna get out of here. See what it seems like on a shorter episode this week. All right. So, to kick us off here, I'm going to start us with this new, if you can't tell by the title of the episode, this new Olivia Rodrigo album. I'm sure a lot of y'all listened to that one. This album was called Guts. Clocks in at 12 tracks in 40 minutes, so it's a good length. And I don't think that there's too much of an artist background that's necessary with Olivia Rodrigo. She's one of the biggest names in music right now. Everybody listened to her album Sour. And even if you didn't, then you definitely know at least one song by her. Good For You, obviously, being her biggest hit. I'm personally a fan of that song. I don't know. What do you think about that song, or at least her other music, Elijah?
I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't really into her, so I can't really speak on too much of her other music. I did her, Good For You, obviously being her biggest song. If I have to say, without trying to steal your thunder, I do think that she built off of what she started off with on this album. So I really do like this album a lot. I definitely think after hearing this album and then going back and listening to Good For You that maybe I'm willing to give her some more opportunity to kind of grow on me.
Oh yeah, word up, man, word up. Yeah, I wasn't the biggest fan of her album Sour. Like I said, I really enjoyed the song Good For You. I know that was the big hit, whatever. But, I mean, that's a song where you can really tell that she gets her sound a lot from Hayley Williams. Obviously, she credits more to Taylor Swift, but I do know that she credits to Hayley Williams a lot, that being the lead singer for Paramore. I enjoy Paramore's brand of music. I enjoy Hayley Williams a lot. And you can obviously tell, I mean, it's not that she's just straight up stealing from her, but she's like a child of Hayley Williams, she takes a lot from her sound, so I really enjoy that whenever that comes through on her music, and you can hear a lot of those, a lot of that on this album as well. You can also hear a lot of where she gets from Taylor Swift. So I think that she's a good mixture of the two. I think she's probably more artistic than Taylor Swift. No offense to T-Swift fans. I enjoy Taylor Swift as well.
Don't get the Swifties on us.
I just think that's right. I enjoy Taylor Swift's music as well. I just think it's a point to say Taylor Swift is not the most artistic person. She's not doing anything generally brand new in music. Not that Olivia Rodrigo is, but just Taylor Swift's brand of music is a lot more straightforward. You know what to expect. It's just her fanfare and her sound in general that you enjoy and you buy into. Whereas with Olivia Rodrigo, she's trying more different things, Again, not that she's reinvented the wheel or anything. She's not doing anything that no one's done before, but you can tell that she is trying to expand her music a little bit. Kind of like going back to Taylor Swift, how she went from a country artist to the biggest pop icon in the world right now. That was her growth. So we're seeing that with Olivia Rodrigo now. Now, like Elijah said, I agree. I think that this is definitely a step forward for her from her last album. Again, not that her last album was not good. It was good. But I think that this album just shows the artist growth for her. I did not hear, and I've listened to it twice now. One time on vinyl, yeah, whatever. I got the vinyl record for it because I have a wife who enjoys music as well. Come on, guys. But no, I really did enjoy this album enough to make it worth buying it on vinyl. And I don't hear any songs that I think are going to be straight up hits to the level of Good For You. But I think that as an overall album, it is an easier listen, it's a more enjoyable listen, and it has a more cohesive theme throughout. Again, the other one had a good cohesive theme, but this one just seems to come together in a more clear package to me. I don't think that she's changing up her sound that much. I just think that she's really growing up. I say that, and she's younger than me. I think that she is growing up into this artist that is learning how to craft her music in a more what's the word? Just in a better package to get it to you, and where you'll get what she's saying, get what she's going for, and not overstay
more cohesive.
The welcome. Exactly. That's the word I was looking for. But yep. I do not think that this. It's not, like I said, it's not a new sound. I don't think it will alienate any of her fans. Overall, I think it is very enjoyable. I don't think it's like album of the year or anything like that, but it's definitely in the upper echelon of albums this year, in my opinion, especially whenever you consider that more mainstream pop side of stuff. We're not talking about the more underground stuff that you've never heard of, like an artist that I'll talk about later is a little bit lesser known. But I do think that this is going to be an album that probably gets nominated for a Grammy. She's got a big enough name for it, and it is good enough that I can see it getting plenty of nominations, maybe even winning. I don't know. We'll see. I forget if the Taylor Swift album from last year, I think that actually made it on this year's ballot. So does she have a chance at winning when she's going up against Taylor Swift? I don't know. We know how she steals them from people like Kendrick Lamar. But either way, I think that Olivia Rodrigo has a great future, and I really enjoyed this album a lot. I look forward to hearing more from her. That being said, Elijah, you were talking a little bit about it. You got anything else you want to throw in on this album?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm kind of going to piggyback a little bit off of what you said. So again, just to be clear, was not really a fan. Not that I hated her, I just didn't listen to her music really. Her Good For You, I was like, okay, it's a standard pop hit, nothing crazy, whatever. Yeah. So when I listened to this album though, like I said, piggybacking off what you said, I immediately thought, like, I got halfway through the album, I was like, am I listening to Paramore? Like, I was like, is this Paramore? Because like, I was like, this is such Hayley Williams inspired type of music, and if you, black people aren't a monolith, but if you know, a lot of black people love Paramore, they love Hayley Williams. If you know, and
I have noticed
she
that.
Really, she was really giving me those vibes, and I really enjoyed it. Like, the sound was amazing. When you said the album was cohesive, like I said, I haven't listened to this hour, so I can't necessarily judge that one off of this one, but I can definitely say this album as a whole has a lot of cohesion with it. She has a lot of, the transitions aren't like, they're not like Metro Boomin level transitions, but the transitions are really nice for like a pop album, because usually with pop albums, there's not really, you don't really have too many transitions in pop albums, but this is an album that has really good transitions within it, and I really like how, like, the theme of the album, it's called Guts, and most of the time it's talking about how she's basically spilling her guts about love and how things went wrong. And just to point out a couple of songs I really liked, I liked Vampire. I think Vampire is good.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because that was my favorite song. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. I'm about to say, if I had to say a hit, if there's gonna be two hits off this album, it's gonna be Vampire and it's gonna be Bad Idea, right? Those two are probably gonna be the radio songs off this album. But Vampire is a really good song. I really liked it. I really liked her breathy singing. Like, I think it was on Vampire where she was singing kind of like that. Lacey, she was definitely singing like that. I really kind of liked it. Like, when I was first listening, I was like, when it first happened, but then the more she did it, I really, really enjoyed it. And
you can feel how visceral she's getting on the music, because, like you said, she is spilling her guts, and you can just feel the emotions coming out when she does stuff like that. Yeah.
Exactly. And like, I really liked it. Another song I really liked was Pretty Isn't Pretty. I like that one a lot, because that was more of a, again, it was visceral, but not in the aggressive manner. It was more of like a really, what's the word? How do I say this? It was kind of like a really, I guess, vulnerable song, really, because, it's kind of the whole point of it saying, like, maybe I'm not pretty enough, when pretty isn't enough. That's what I meant to say. Sorry. When pretty isn't enough. And that's kind of like what I really liked how she did that. I don't, again, with pop artists, I never know where they really write their music, because you know how pop is. But if I'm pretty sure, I remember people saying she does write her own music. And if she does, I can really tell on this album, because this album has there's a lot you can usually tell when someone writes their own things, because, when someone writes music, somebody does their own music, somebody freestyles, whatever, they have their own type of I can't think of the right word, so I'll just say vibe, but you kind of get what I'm trying to say. They have their own type of style. That's what it is, their own type of style. And this whole album, you could clearly hear the same style in each song. Yes, the songs may be different. Yes, she may be doing different things with how she's singing and whatever, but the consistent thing about the album is, like, it's her style, and I really like that, especially out of a pop album. So I'm not gonna lie, if this is probably an album that is gonna make me like her, because I was genuinely surprised by how much I enjoyed this album. And
Yeah.
like, it's funny because my girlfriend, she didn't like this. She didn't really like when we were listening to it at first. So, and I was kind of like, yeah, I kind of see what you're saying, but I listened to it more and more. I was like, it grew on me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess to finish up my thoughts on this album, like I said, like if you like Hayley Williams, if you like Paramore, you're gonna get a lot of vibes from this. Like Logan said, it's gonna sound a lot like that, but it's also gonna have her own flair to it. And if you're a big Olivia Rodrigo fan, oh, this album's perfect. If you are on the fence like I was, this album's also perfect, because this might push you over the edge. Oops, my bad. This might push you over the edge. But yeah, no, this is. I'd say this is a solid. Since this isn't hip hop, it's not obviously not the top hip hop. But if it was pop list, it's probably a top 15 album without even needing to hear any other albums, at least, like just off rip.
Yeah. Oh, it's definitely. I mean, I think I had it in my top 20 overall albums so far. Now that due to change, plenty of year left, plenty more to come out, and plenty more re-listening to do. So some albums might rise, some might fall, but it was definitely in my top 30, top 20 of the year so far. So I agree.
Okay, cool.
So now, why don't you hit us here with this album that you got?
All right, so we're going to be talking about Teezo Touchdown. So, if you guys don't know, Teezo, just to give it a little background, he's actually a little bit older than you guys might think he is. Some people think he's a young artist. He's 30. That doesn't mean he's old, obviously, but, he's not someone who's just like, a teenager. But his music is very reminiscent of, like, Lil Uzi when he first came out. Very reminiscent of, like, Playboy Cardi when he first came out, except even more into the I guess the emo rock / hip hop version of it, more than just the hip hop version of it, if that makes sense. And I'm not gonna lie, I heard a couple of his songs before here. I hadn't really listened to him like that, but this album makes me really want to listen to him more. This album got a lot of hype before it was released. You guys saw Drake was promoting it. Drake was saying that this is some of the best music he's heard all year. A couple of other big name artists were talking it up, and I'm not gonna lie. I mean, usually I get hesitant when big time artists say that, because they always gas each other up. But genuinely speaking, I think this was one of the rare times where like people were saying that, and it actually was kind of true. Like, I'm not saying this is the best album of the year, but I will say that for somebody who is not necessarily mainstream yet, I have a feeling he's going to start becoming mainstream, because he has a lot of big features now. He's been featured on a lot of big artist songs. But for someone who's not up there yet, this is a really, really good album to get up there. I want to point out just a couple of songs that I really liked. Hold on, let me go to the songs. So I really liked, I even told you this, Logan, when I was first listening to it. I really liked the song that song, for some reason, song really hit me. I really liked that song. I really liked how he did that. I really liked You Thought with Janelle Monáe. I think that was a really great song.
And you could hardly tell she was on that, and she blended in very well.
I was just about to say, like, I when I've listened to it, I was like, was Janelle Monáe really on that? But she was blended really well into that, and that's another thing about this album. I liked the production was on point. Like, whoever produced this album, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, it's probably a bunch of different producers, but all the producers on this album, on point. All the songs on this album, in terms of that production quality, were great. And again, in terms of emo rock rap, it was a great blend of it. There was so much of that mixed in, but it was mixed in perfectly. And like I said, I think it's not going to be in my definitely not my top 10 albums of the year, but if it was top 10 albums if this was top albums of artists that I hadn't really heard of, this probably would be like number 2, honestly. That's how much I enjoyed this album. But what are your thoughts on it?
I can see that. So funny enough, before I got to this album, which I think off the top of my head, if I remember correctly, this was the first of the 4 albums I listened to this past weekend.
Okay.
Before I even got to listening to it, I saw a lot of people talking on Twitter. I remember one specifically. You know how how a Twitter person will tweet out like, "Hey, listen to checking into this album," and then halfway through or at the end of their listen, they'll quote tweet that and say their thoughts on it. Well, I saw someone do that, and their quote tweet was, "That was the worst album I've ever heard." I'm like, whoa, that's not giving me good expectations. And then, not 2 minutes later, scrolling down, "This is the best album of the year." I'm like, oh Jesus, it's one of those albums. Yeah, it is one of those albums. It'd be I could see where it's going to be very polarizing because it's very different. And I think if you end up in the middle ground between those two groups, you probably actually got the proper listening experience.
Probably.
Yeah, I agree with you. I really enjoy it. I enjoy the unique sound that he has. I mean, it reminds me a lot of like 90s and early 2000s teenage rock. Just that angsty sound, which is why it surprises me that he's 30. But I guess I can also tell he kind of grew up during that age where that type of rock was very popular. Almost like, I know this is older than that, but almost like London Calling, the Clash. It kind of reminds me of that sound. Obviously a lot less British, but kind of reminds me of that sound. I feel like he definitely took inspiration from them. But let's say he doesn't hit any of the highest highs of any of those groups that he's taken from, but it's not the lowest lows. I feel like a lot of people are coming into this thinking, oh, he's a rapper because you heard him on Modern Jam. And, you know, he kind of sounded like Andre 3000 on Modern Jam. But, I mean, that's really not what... He's not a rapper, really. He's not.
He's an artist, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. He definitely mixes hip-hop in there, but if you had to categorize him to one genre, which I think is a mistake, then I would call him more of a rock star than anything else, honestly. Like, that's more of the vibe I get from him and his music. So, yeah, I think a lot of people are just going to come in and expect something and be disappointed by that because it isn't what they thought they'd hear. But overall, like, his sound is very unique for, especially for the type of expectations that you will go in with. And I think he has a bright future. I don't think this is a perfect album by any means. I think there are plenty of times where it gets very corny. I think there are times where it gets a little predictable, which is crazy to say considering how interesting and unique it can be at times. But overall, I think this is a great start to what could be a really fun, good career that I plan on watching out for. Because if he takes this and keeps building on it, he's got a lot of potential.
And to be clear, just to expound upon what I said when I say he's an artist, I feel like there's a few different people who make music, say that, who people put in a category, but they're really artists as a whole because they can do a lot more than just one. They transcend the categories. And so that's one reason why I mentioned Lil Uzi and Playboi Carti, because, you know, most people know them. They say, yeah, they're rappers, but they're kind of a mix of rap and rocks at times. Lil Uzi's more of a rapper than a rocker. Playboi Carti's kind of more of that. Teezo is like if you took those two and you pushed them more into the rock side of it. But
he would be the opposite end of that spectrum.
But at the same time, like, they're all just artists, and I don't think, like Logan said, I don't think boxing them in, and specifically since we're talking about Teezo, I don't think you want to box Teezo into, oh, he's a rapper because it's a hip hop album. You don't want to just box that in, because if you come in with that expectation, like Logan said, you're not gonna like the album. To be honest with you, if you come in thinking it's a hip hop album, you're not gonna like this album. But if you come in thinking, okay, I'm just gonna enjoy this album, or I'm just gonna give this album a chance, I should say, and if you like that type of like mix of hip hop and, you know, late 90s rock, then you definitely are gonna like. I think you'll like this album at least. I'm not gonna go as far as some people say it's the best album of the year, but I definitely don't think it's anywhere close to the worst either. It's nowhere close to the worst either.
Absolutely not. Not in the year where Macklemore dropped. Spoilers. Spoilers for the end of the year. Worst albums of the year list. Not in the year where Macklemore dropped is it gonna be the worst.
Ooh.
Yeah, no, really enjoyed that. So, moving on from that, we have, like I said, an artist that I had never heard a song from her before Friday. Laufey. I believe I'm saying that right. I'm taking that pronunciation, of course, from is it Norse mythology, I believe? Yeah. So I'm taking it from that. So yeah, Laufey with her album Bewitched, coming in at 14 tracks, 48 minutes. This is not her first album. She dropped one last year that a lot of people enjoyed, and we're just looking forward to see what type of growth she has. Again, another artist who's younger than I am. For record, I am 25 years old. I want to say she was 24. I could be wrong on that. Obviously, going back to Olivia Rodrigo, I think she's 20.
I think she just turned 20.
Yeah. But Laufey, I believe she was 23, 24 years old. Really young artist. Shows a lot of potential, man. Not only a lot of potential, she's already there under a lot of circumstances. She is Icelandic. She is a singer-songwriter, and she describes her own sound as jazz pop and bedroom pop. So interesting description, but I could see where she gets that from. Definitely a lot of jazz production that you're going to hear on this. Not in the same vein as you heard jazz mixed with hip-hop on To Pimp a Butterfly, but more so in that more classical nature type of jazz, you know? Not the Miles Davis brand of jazz, but a more relaxing... I'm not deep enough into jazz to give you an artist comparison, but it gets a lot more relaxing and, like I said, nature sounding, like almost like you're hearing birds and wind blowing it. You're not hearing that, but it's almost like that, you know. On a lot of these tracks, she gets very introspective. I'm especially going to shout out the song Letter to My 13-Year-Old Self. Obviously, title explains it. She's writing a letter to her when she was 13 years old, and it's just like, you know, pick your head up, forget the people who make fun of you for having a weird name, and, you know, look forward to what you're going to become, that type of song. I really enjoy when she does stuff like that, but I also enjoy when she picks it up a little bit more. For example, she shows off her beautiful voice on a very old school sound on the intro track Dreamer. I don't even know what an artist comparison for her would be, but it just kind of sounds like almost a sound that you would hear in the day of Frank Sinatra, you know? Not specifically like him, but just akin to that, kind of very much.
Just kind of like that vibe, that era of music, basically.
Yeah, exactly. But again, she also knows how to step it up and have some fun on tracks like my personal favorite, Lovesick, where it gets a little bit more upbeat. Again, kind of more introspective, but a lot more upbeat and fun. Overall, I mean, me personally, I think this is one of the best albums this year. Definitely, in my opinion, the best album to drop of the 4 we got this weekend that we listened to. I keep coming back to it, man, whether it's just one track or the entire album. I listened to all of these albums at least twice. I bet I've listened to this album 4 times by now. Mind you, it dropped on Friday. It's Monday night. And it's not like I was just doing nothing. This weekend was football, man. I went to a tailgate and watched games all day Sunday and still managed to fit this thing in 3 or 4 times. That's how much I really enjoyed listening to this project. Like I said, beautiful, very beautiful voice, great production, great songwriting. She has an amazing future. I think this is very much deserving of being nominated for a Grammy. Whether it will or not, I don't know. I don't know what her popularity is, but I do know that she is starting to catch a lot more traction, starting to catch a lot more people's attention. So I really do hope that this gets nominated for a Grammy. That show means nothing to me, but I do enjoy whenever they get things right. And I think that they would get things right by nominating her. If not for Album of the Year, at least something in her own genre category. That's all I got to say about it, man. I can't praise it too much, so I'm going to have to cut myself off there.
So I'll keep it short and sweet. Didn't get a chance to really listen to this album. But what I'll say is, if it is really like the jazz pop kind of vibe, I really think that that's a type of that's kind of interesting that we're kind of coming full circle back to that now. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but we're having a lot more artists that are actually like doing that, like you said, almost Frank Sinatra, you know, Nat King Cole, kind of going in that back to that era and like bringing it into the modern day. And I really enjoy it. So I think that if she sounds like that or has a similar sound to that, at least, I think that this is an album that, you know, people can enjoy, because that sounds like it's an album you can literally put on while you're like cleaning your house, you know, while you're maybe even doing homework or something that like not to say that her lyrics may not be important, but like something you could put on in the background and like just vibe, you know.
Yeah, it's very versatile, because I mean, obviously, it's probably not something you're going to work out to. Now, admittedly, I did listen to it while running just because I needed to get a workout in. But running's very different from lifting weights. Let's put that out there. But yeah, you could listen to this while cleaning the house and not really pay attention, or it could be one of those where you're just headphones on, dark room, little bit of light, set the mood, and you're almost tearing up listening to the beauty, kind of like that person. It's a meme, kind of like you're staring at an art piece and you've always been that, I don't understand art, and then you finally see that one piece that speaks to you, a tear rolls down your like, my God,
I understand it.
It's very much that type of, man, that is exactly, I felt like that during this album. This brought out a lot of joy to just listen to and say, wow, I understand the beauty in this.
Okay. I like that. So I definitely have to give it a listen to then in that case.
Yeah. Could definitely be contending for my album of the year. I don't have it there yet, but again, more time has to pass. It could definitely be contending for that.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we have one final album that we want to talk about. Honestly, I think this one's going to be a little short. But we're talking about James Blake's new album. Is Robots. What's the name of it? Robots.
Playing Robots into Heaven.
There you go. Playing Robots into Heaven. So I'll focus on the backstory of James Blake. If you haven't heard of James Blake before, it's kind of understandable, but he's collabed with a lot of big name rappers. Kendrick Lamar is one of them.
Yeah.
I'd say the best way to describe him is he's not like a producer like Metro Boomin, but he's more like a less annoying DJ Khaled. Like very much less annoying DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
Basically, he's more of a curator of sounds, more than necessarily like a singer or whatever. He does sing,
but he does have a beautiful voice. Yeah,
he does have a beautiful voice. Yes, but especially with this album, it was less. I mean, his voice is on the album and it's very beautiful, but this album was definitely a curation of just sounds, and it's very much like that. The title of the album very much describes the songs. This album really, it just sounds like you're beating heavy with robots. And I really liked it. Like I said, he has a great voice, beautiful voice. But I think this is definitely out of the three I listened to, at least, this is definitely the album that you can put on at any point in time. That's like, maybe not when you're working out, of course, but like you can put it on at any point in time and just let it play. Like you could literally be reading a book, put this on low, have it just playing in the background, and like get lost in just the sounds of the album. I think that it's very much on brand, honestly, because like I said, if you listen to some of his collabs with other artists, it's very much a lot of his collabs are very sonically beautiful. They are either sonically beautiful or sonically like sonically, what's the word I'm looking for? Sonically of a upper level, I guess, if that makes sense. Like it stands out is what I'm trying to say. And this album, I really, I listened to it and I was like, wow, this is very, very nice. Like just as someone who likes beats and like listen to beats and like just music that's produced beautifully, this album is like a godsend. And if that's something you like, you're gonna enjoy. Now, if you like to listen to the album to hear lyrics and everything, this may not be that one for you. Not that I mean, again, he has a beautiful voice. He's just not really saying much in the album.
Sing. Yeah,
he does sing. There's just not much to say. Not that that's an issue, but for me, I really just like the sound of this album.
The focus of this album is definitely the soundscape, and that soundscape is literally playing Robots into Heaven. It's very robotic and otherworldly, and I really enjoy that. I think you hit the nail on the head with your description there.
And honestly, it kind of reminds me, I don't know how, you've watched like some dystopian type shows, right?
Yeah.
Like, it reminds me very much so of like the type of music I would imagine you'd hear in a dystopian type show, or like if we lived in a dystopian type
put
world.
This in like the score of Black Mirror or something like that.
Right, exactly. Like that's literally what this reminds me of. In a great way, though, in a positive way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what he was going for. I mean, he's a smart man. I believe, at least in terms of his music, and I think he knows what he's doing. Whenever he's creating a sound and a project, again, just like we mentioned earlier, a lot of cohesiveness here. And I think that that is one of the features that you can expect from him. I've personally I've not been as much of a person to listen to producer-centric albums. Now, in terms of like a Metro Boomin, or even on the lower end of that, a DJ Khaled, where they get features on every single song, sure, but whenever the focus is on the beats and there are multiple tracks in a row where you don't hear anyone talking, that's never been my cup of tea. But I did really enjoy this project, and I thought it was very cohesive, and I thought it got exactly what he was going for. And I can always acknowledge that. I enjoyed listening to it. It's probably not going to be something I come back to the most, again, just because that's my taste. But, like I said, he achieved what he was going for, and he did it well.
Right.
Very well.
And yeah, I agree. And this is not an album that you're going to put on a list because it is just, it's literally just beats. And those albums just don't lend themselves to being top albums or whatever. But this is more an album that, like, again, audiophiles, you're going to love it. If that's your thing, you're going to love this album. This is great for that. If you're just into the beats and you just love producing, perfect album for you. If you're more if you like lyrics, you might not like it as much, but I think that you can at least appreciate the beauty of it. Like we're saying, you can at least appreciate the how it sounds and how it ties in with the title, which I really sidebar on that. I really like when artists do a great job of tying the album in with the title, like when it makes sense. Like that's why I pointed out with Olivia Rodrigo, like Guts, and she's literally spilling all her guts on this album. Like of that album, I really like that. So going to this album, I really like that. It, like you said, it sounded like Robots in Heaven, So, so yeah. This is an album that I think gets for me, if I had to give it a star rating, I'd give it 5 stars, honestly. Just off of the production quality and everything. Yeah.
Well, like we said, he achieved what he was going for, and that's the goal. You don't have to make the best album of all time every time you drop. Sometimes you just got to set a goal and go achieve it.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be what you and your fans want. Honestly, not always what your fans want. Sometimes they don't know what they want until they get it.
Exactly. Sometimes that's the best thing.
He achieved his goal. Overall, I think this weekend was a very good listening experience. I can understand, again, the polarizing nature of the Teezo album, and then I can understand some people who might have some drawback to Olivia because, there's just generally a drawback to those big-name pop artists. But overall, I think all 4 albums were a very fun listen. And again, not a single one of them was really a hip-hop album. Somewhat Teezo, but overall, not really hip-hop this weekend. I think it was a nice palate cleanser for us.
Yeah, no, and I really think that, we're talking about these albums. All of these albums, especially since you described Laufey's like that, all these albums seem like albums you can really just play and just listen to and enjoy. And I really like the fact that we were able to, like you said, get a palate cleanser and kind of like, listen to something to music that we could just enjoy. I don't want to say too much, but like last week there wasn't really much for us to do, so like it was nice to have these in terms of reviewing albums. At least it was nice to have these to listen to and actually like enjoy it, especially since it was, honestly, for me, these were kind of outside of like what I usually listen to, and I actually enjoyed all of them. The 3 I listened to, at least I enjoyed all of the 3 I listened to, so it's like very much a great, I think this is a great album, especially for, Olivia Rodrigo is obviously a big name now, but like these are, the other 3 are artists that aren't necessarily big names, but for them to all put together, I think strong projects says a lot towards the, people are concerned about the state of music right now, but I think if you look underneath the big names, it kind of lends itself towards a better when you listen to these type of artists.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I hope y'all enjoyed this. Looking forward to next week. Right now, all that I've seen, and I'm not going to say that I know these are dropping. I'm just reading the Genius calendar. But looking forward to next week. Right now on our list to listen to, we've got Rod Wave is supposed to be dropping, Vic Mensa, and maybe we'll listen to Yeet. He's never been an artist that I really go to like that, but I know a lot of people enjoy him, so Maybe. I make no promises on him. The other two, if they drop, we will listen to those.
If he drops, I'll listen to it. I'll do it for the podcast. I will do it for the podcast.
Yeah.
I am not a Yeet fan at all, but I will do it for you guys because you know what, I enjoy doing this, and I like giving you guys kind of my feedback on it. So I'll definitely give it a shot for y'all. But I'm excited. If Rod Wave does drop, I'm a big Rod Wave fan. I really like his music.
He's very fun. His music is very fun and easy to get through. The one fear is, is it going to be more of the same, or it's very. Once you heard one Rod Wave album, they're going to be very similar.
They're all the same.
We'll see if he changes that here. But regardless, it is a fun listening experience to Rod Wave, whether it's the same or not. He has a sound that works. That's fine.
Can't blame him for going to what works.
That's right. But that being said, that's just what we're looking forward to next week. Next week also, we've got fun planned for y'all. Looking forward to the now announced Drake album for All the Dogs coming out the following week. So stay tuned for that. And that's it for this one. Close us out here, Elijah.
Yeah, so, just want to let y'all know the fun that we got. I'm really enjoying it, and I'm really excited for it. Drake is one of my favorite artists, so I'm really excited for this album to drop. So, just be prepared for content coming out in the next 2 weeks leading up to it from on our TikTok, on our Twitter, on our Instagram. Make sure you follow that Blueprint. It should be Blueprint Podcast on all three of those, correct? It's the It's just the Blueprint Podcast.
I know
all three.
TikTok is the.blueprint.pod. And then if you can find us on TikTok, it has a link directly to our Instagram. Our Instagram has a link to everything. TikTok, unfortunately, doesn't let you link everything. So I just link the Instagram links everything else.
Yeah, so just give us a follow on all those things. Keep in touch, keep looking. Like I said, we're gonna have some content coming out these next 2 weeks leading up to that Drake album. Because it's probably gonna be, if not the biggest album release of the year, it's gonna be one of the biggest album releases of the year for sure. But other than that, just make sure you keep following and keep commenting and let us know how we do. And we're always down to hear what you guys want to hear as well.
Yes, sir. So that being said, we will see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace out, guys.